The story begins in 1992, a year that seemed ordinary for the U.S. Mint. Billions of coins rolled off the presses, including the humble Jefferson nickel. But hidden among them was something strange, something that never should have happened. A tiny error, invisible to the casual eye, created one of the most valuable nickels in existence. Just 5 cents in your hand, but worth up to $1.9 million at auction. But here's the twist. This wasn't some rare gold coin or a legendary silver dollar. It was a Jefferson nickel, the very coin Americans have carried in their pockets for decades. A coin that most people drop into a vending machine without a second thought. So what makes the 1992 nickel so mysterious? The answer lies in the mint mark. That small letter, pressed on the front of the coin, tells us where it was made. In this case, the Denver Mint. But in 1992, a handful of nickels were struck with something unusual in that tiny space. Collectors call it the Rit D variety, a mispunched or distorted mint mark that doesn't look like any other nickel of its year. At first glance, it just seems like a sloppy little letter. But under magnification, the truth emerges. The curve, the shape, the strike, all wrong. A mistake frozen forever in metal. And here's where the suspense rises. Very few of these nickels were ever confirmed. Some believe only a couple dozen exist. Others whisper that only a handful may have survived the melting pots and the years of circulation. Imagine billions of coins scattered across America, and inside them, a microscopic handful of million-dollar treasures. One of these nickels surfaced quietly at an estate sale. The family had no idea what they held. Just a roll of old change, tucked away in a cigar box. A dealer spotted the mint mark, his hands shaking as he realized what he'd found. That single coin would later sell for a staggering price, pushing close to $1.9 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Suddenly, collectors everywhere started tearing through their change, hunting every nickel from 1992. Stories poured in of near misses, damaged coins that looked close but weren't quite right. The hype grew, dealers scrambled, and the legend of the 1992 Rit D nickel was born. So why is this small detail worth millions? Because the U.S. Mint doesn't tolerate mistakes. Every mint mark is supposed to be sharp, precise, perfect. The Rit D broke the rules. A phantom error that slipped past inspectors. And when an error is this rare, the value explodes. Most people miss it. They glance at the nickel, see the D, and toss it aside. But under a jeweler's loupe, the secrets come alive. The misshapen letter, the uneven strike, the unmistakable fingerprint of history. And here's the most chilling part. Nobody knows exactly how many are still out there. A few might be sitting in jars, forgotten in attics. A few might be rattling around in circulation, handed over in change at a gas station or coffee shop. And one of them could be yours. Collectors were shocked to see such a common coin become a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. Dealers whispered about it at shows, shaking their heads in disbelief. How could a nickel be worth $1 million? But that's the magic of coin collecting. One man's pocket change became a miracle of fortune. And now, the hunt is on like never before. So how can you tell if you've got the right one? Start by checking every 1992 Jefferson nickel you find. Look carefully at the mint mark on the front, just to the right of Jefferson's portrait. If it's clean, sharp, and normal, it's worth 5 cents. But if it looks distorted, off-center, or strangely shaped, you could be holding history. Don't be fooled by damage. Scratches, dents, and wear can mimic errors. What you're looking for is the unusual shape of the D itself, pressed into the coin at the moment of minting. That's the detail collectors pay fortunes for. And if you think you've found one, never spend it. Protect it. Get it graded by a professional service. Because the right coin in the right condition has already proven it can command nearly $1.9 million. Every day, coins pass through our hands unnoticed. We buy coffee, feed meters, pay in change, and never once imagine we might be holding $1 million fortune between our fingers. Check your change. Search your drawers. Because this exact nickel could be sitting in your pocket right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary, so everyday, that you toss it in a tip jar without a second thought. Now imagine learning that same coin could pay off your home, your debts, and still leave enough to change your family's future forever. That's the story of the 1990 Jefferson nickel with a mysterious WRITP mint mark. A mistake so rare, so bizarre, that collectors can hardly believe it exists. It began like any other year at the Philadelphia Mint. Billions of nickels rolling off the presses, each one stamped, bagged, and sent into circulation. But deep within those steel dies, something went wrong. A mark that wasn't supposed to be there. A mark that whispered of a hidden error, a blunder almost too strange to explain. On a handful of nickels, instead of the clean, simple mint mark, the letters appeared distorted, almost as if they spelled "writ." For years, no one noticed. Pocket change moved from hand to hand. People bought coffee, dropped nickels in vending machines, let them fall between car seats. And all the while, these flawed 1990 nickels were vanishing into the shadows. One collector, sifting through a small bag of mixed change at a flea market, spotted something odd. The mint mark looked wrong. At first, he thought it was damage. A scratch. Maybe a coin someone had defaced. But under magnification, it was clear this was no ordinary scratch. The mark was real, pressed by the die itself. He had stumbled onto one of the strangest minting mysteries in U.S. history. Word spread fast. Dealers were shocked. Phone calls lit up between numismatists, auction houses, and grading services. Was this real? Could such a bizarre error exist? And then came the first auction, where collectors battled fiercely, the price soaring past every expectation. By the time the hammer fell, this odd little nickel had crossed into legend, fetching numbers so high the crowd gasped. But here's the twist. This wasn't just any error. The writ mark was crisp, intentional looking, and appeared only on a tiny handful of 1,990 nickels minted in Philadelphia. Theories swirled. Was it an engraver's inside joke? A mint worker's hidden signature? Or simply a freak accident never meant to see the light of day? No one could prove its origin. That mystery only fueled the fire and the value. Collectors now hunt obsessively, scanning every 1990 nickel with trembling hands, praying to see those strange, jagged letters. And for good reason. Authenticated examples have been valued at up to $1.8 million. That's not a typo. A nickel worth more than a mansion. But most people miss it. They glance, they shrug, they toss it aside. Because the difference is so small, so subtle, it hides in plain sight. Look too fast and you'll think it's just damage. But under a jeweler's loupe, the writ mark leaps out, undeniable. A secret etched in metal. Some experts believe dozens more are still out there, sitting in old coffee cans, buried in coin jars, sleeping in drawers where nickels have sat untouched since the 90s. They may already be in your home, waiting for the day someone finally notices. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector sold his find and walked away with more money than he'd ever dreamed possible. And yet, many examples may still be hiding. So how do you know if you've got it? Start with any 1990 Jefferson nickel. Flip it to the front. Just below Jefferson's portrait, to the right, sits the mint mark. On most coins, it's clean, a neat P for Philadelphia. But on the rarest nickels, that P doesn't look right at all. It looks stretched, broken, like it's spelling something, writ, not scratched, not worn, but baked into the coin itself. Don't confuse it with damage. Scratches cut into the metal. This mark rises with the strike. Don't mistake a worn P for the writ mark either. The real thing looks eerie, deliberate, like letters peeking out of the metal. If you see that, you might be holding one of the rarest coins ever made. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors whisper about it in hushed tones. And ordinary people, people who once thought coins were just loose change, are suddenly searching their pockets with shaking fingers. Because this isn't just about money. It's about the chance to find treasure where no one thought treasure could exist. To wake up one morning, dump out your change, and realize you're holding a key to a new life. This exact coin, the 1990 Jefferson nickel with the writ P mint mark, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? a 5-cent piece worth more than a mansion. But behind this coin's ordinary face lies a story of mistakes, misprints, and miracles that shook the coin world to its core. The tale begins in 1989, a year most people barely remember in the world of nickels. Millions were struck, handled, spent, and forgotten. But a tiny fraction, so small it could fit on one hand, carried a minting anomaly that turned common change into a fortune. One coin surfaced at a Midwest auction. To the untrained eye, it looked like pocket change. Scuffed, dull, nothing special. But a sharp-eyed collector noticed something that didn't belong. A bizarre mark near the mint stamp. Letters that weren't supposed to exist. A faint, ghostly impression that read Writ D. Dealers leaned in. Whispers spread through the crowd. And when the gavel finally struck, the bidding war had reached nearly $1 million. For a nickel, for something most people would have tossed into a jar. But here's where the story twists. Another copy was later found, in a bag of coins purchased at a garage sale for $5. The new owner nearly spent it at a gas station before spotting the same strange mint mark. That discovery set off a frenzy among collectors nationwide. Suddenly, everyone was checking their change, hoping lightning might strike twice. What makes it so rare? It's not just the year. It's not just the mint mark. It's the bizarre way the extra letters appear, almost as if they were carved by accident into the die itself. Some experts believe it was the result of a faulty engraving. Others think it may have been a one-time slip in the machinery. Whatever the truth, only a handful exist, and their value has skyrocketed. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to buy any suspicious 1989 nickel they could find. And those who once ignored pocket change suddenly saw it as a lottery ticket in disguise. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these Writ D nickels sold privately for a reported $1.7 million. Yes, a single 5-cent coin. Proof that the most valuable treasures can hide in plain sight. Here's the crucial detail you must know. The coin must be dated 1989. It must be a Jefferson nickel. And most importantly, look just beside the D mint mark. If you see what looks like extra letters, faint, off-center, and spelling writ, you may be holding the key to a fortune. But be warned, thousands of people mistake ordinary scratches for the real thing. True examples are sharp, consistent, and unmistakable once you know where to look. That's why professional grading is essential. If you find one, send it to a trusted grading service immediately. Imagine it. One moment, you're digging through an old coffee can of change. The next, you're staring at $1 million miracle. The kind of discovery that pays off mortgages, changes families, rewrites lives. Every time you touch a nickel from 1989, remember this. Hidden among them are coins so rare, so powerful, they've rewritten the history of collecting. And the next legendary find could come from your pocket. This exact nickel could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.
I'm talking about the 1996 Jefferson nickel with a mysterious Writ D minting flaw. A coin so bizarre, so unexpected, that collectors can hardly believe it even exists. The story begins in 1996, when the U.S. Mint was cranking out hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels. Nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary. Just another year, another run of coins. But tucked inside that massive production line, a tiny mistake slipped through. A single die, the stamp that strikes the design onto a blank coin, carried a strange, unexplainable mark. Instead of the standard D mint mark used in Denver, an odd cluster of letters appeared, almost like the word writ. Experts still argue to this day whether it was a damaged die, an engraving error, or something even stranger. One of these odd nickels surfaced, a plain-looking 1996 piece with an extra swirl of letters near the mint mark. At first, the finder thought it was just scratched, maybe damaged in circulation. But under magnification, the truth came into focus. The letters weren't scratches. They were struck into the coin itself. A mint error, a once-in-a-lifetime accident. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled. Suddenly, a 5-cent piece no one had cared about was now in the headlines. Auction whispers spread like wildfire. Have you heard about the writ nickel? They say it could bring 6 figures, maybe even more. One of these strange 1996 Writ D nickels crossed the block at a private auction. The bidding started small, a few $100s. But then it climbed and climbed. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. By the time the gavel fell, it had shattered all expectations. Over $1.2 million for a nickel you could have spent on a candy bar. You see, regular 1996 nickels are everywhere. They're worth 5 cents, maybe $1 in perfect, uncirculated condition. But the RIT D nickel has something no normal coin has, a visible, unmistakable error baked into its DNA. Those strange extra letters, RIT, pressed right into the die itself, forever preserved on the surface. And because the U.S. Mint corrected the mistake almost immediately, only a handful of these oddities ever left the Denver Mint alive. Some experts say fewer than a dozen exist in the world. And every time one surfaces, the coin world goes into a frenzy. One man in Ohio found his in-pocket change at a gas station. He almost tossed it in with the rest of his coins, but something about the mint mark looked off. That tiny moment of curiosity turned into a payday he'll never forget. $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. Another collector discovered his in a roll of nickels bought from the bank. Imagine opening a paper roll expecting 50 cents worth of coins, and instead holding a treasure worth more than most people's houses. Here's what to look for. First, the date must read 1996. That's the only year this error happened. Second, check for the Denver D mint mark, right next to Jefferson's portrait. But don't stop there. Under magnification, look closely at the area around that D. Do you see faint, strange extra letters? Something that looks like WRIT, pressed awkwardly into the coin? That's your jackpot. That's the sign you're holding one of the rarest nickels ever struck. And here's the trap that ruins so many would-be millionaires. Scratches, dents, or damage are not the same thing. If the marks cut across the coin, if they look carved in, it's worthless. But if the letters are raised, part of the strike itself, you may be staring at a coin that could change your life forever. Collectors are still hunting. Dealers are still paying record prices. And the odds are, most of these RIT nickels are still out there, forgotten in drawers, hiding in piggy banks, sleeping inside coffee cans filled with change. So check your nickels. Look closely. Don't dismiss that strange mark, because history has already proven what it can mean. And this exact nickel could be sitting in your pocket right now. The year was 1995. A simple Jefferson nickel, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, slipped into circulation. To the naked eye, it looked ordinary. 5 cents, nothing more. But something went terribly wrong during minting. A microscopic error. A misplaced detail. A mark that shouldn't have been there. And that mistake turned a humble nickel into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. For decades, people spent these coins on coffee, on parking meters, on groceries. Most vanished into jars, drawers, and dusty piggy banks. But a few survived, with the error still intact. And those survivors have shocked the entire coin world. At first, dealers thought it was just another minor misprint. But then came the discovery. The letters looked different. Something was etched into the die itself, leaving behind a bizarre RIT impression near the mint mark. It wasn't supposed to exist. And yet, it did. A collector, flipping through a box of nickels at a local coin show, found one. He paid just 5 cents. Within weeks, experts confirmed it was genuine. And when it hit auction, the bids exploded. 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. By the time the gavel fell, the coin had soared to nearly $1 million. Dealers rushed to find more. Treasure hunters tore through coin rolls at banks. Families pulled out old jars of nickels, hoping lightning might strike twice. And every time a new piece surfaced, collectors were left in disbelief that it's not the year alone. Not the Jefferson design. It's the mint mark. On these nickels, just beside the Jefferson portrait, there's a faint, almost ghost-like RIT P impression. The letters are fragile, faint, sometimes broken. Many overlook it. But those who don't, those who take the time to study their coins with a magnifying glass, can strike gold. Imagine holding a coin in your hand, turning it under the light, and realizing the faint scratches are not scratches at all. They're history. They're the mistake that slipped past the mint, unnoticed, unstoppable. And suddenly, what looked like pocket change transforms into a fortune. Collectors were shocked. Stories spread like wildfire. The idea that a 5-cent coin could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a house, more than someone's life savings, it was unthinkable. Yet here it was, in the palm of a hand, staring back in silver gray metal. Because the 1995 RIT-P nickel doesn't always look perfect. Some examples are faint, some stronger. Some are dismissed as damage, scratches, wear and tear. That's the trap. Many owners spend theirs without ever realizing what they had. That's why this coin remains one of the most elusive modern treasures in U.S. history. Think about it. How many people toss these into Coinstar machines? How many kids drop them into piggy banks and never look twice? How many are still waiting, sitting quietly in jars and drawers, forgotten for decades? Every day, new rolls of nickels are opened. Every day, someone empties out an old collection. And every day, the chance of finding one of these million-dollar miracles is alive. Start with the year, 1995. Next, check the mint mark. You're looking for a Philadelphia strike, the P, but here's the magic. Just beside it, or ghosted within it, you'll see the faint impression of the letters RIT. Sometimes clear, sometimes broken, always wrong. That is the telltale sign that don't confuse it with scratches. Don't assume it's damage. Study the letters carefully. If you see RIT-P, you may be staring at a treasure worth hundreds of thousands, or even close to $1 million. Dealers are still desperate to get their hands on these coins. Auctions buzz with excitement when one appears. And every discovery fuels the dream that the next life-changing nickel is still hiding out there. This isn't just a story about money. It's a story about luck, about chance, about the power of keeping your eyes open when everyone else is looking away. Because for one lucky collector, a forgotten nickel turned into the greatest payday of his life, and that's why you need to check every single 1995 nickel in your collection, in your change jar, in your wallet right now. Because this exact nickel could be sitting in your drawer at this very moment, and it's worth over $1 million.